All right, well, we've got another episode of Tailwind. Today we're joined by Josh Shirley. Josh, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
This is Josh. I feel like that was redundant. Just starting off with with you just said my name, and I'm just like, I'll
Yeah.
try and say it different. I don't know what I'm doing there.
It's like when
Yeah,
you go in a circle and everyone's like, Austin, introduce yourself. You go, well, my name's Austin. I feel like it's the
done it,
exact same
man.
thing. It's natural.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I don't know, man. Maybe it's the podcast nerves. Yes, I have a podcast. It's called Sales Tales. What I do professionally is I work with and coach, develop sales leaders and salespeople. Do coaching, mentoring. I'm a Sandler guy, so I use the Sandler methodology to deliver those things. I love selling. I think helping somebody get better at that helps them get better in other places in their life, right? Like
Yeah.
it's really sales is very parallel to a person's self-development. And when I got into this business, I saw an opportunity to really do that and help people and change their lives, and I've been rewarded with that ever since.
Mhm.
In my background, I'm a stand-up comic, so I have an appreciation for performance art and things like that. And I feel like what I'm passionate about is you know I think laughter is a genuine response. Like you
Mhm.
can't fake it, and if you fake it, you're faking it. Everyone does, and you can't for long.
Mhm.
So I think if you can take the message you want to deliver to somebody to help them get better, help them grow, and you can put it inside that loop and they're laughing, it confirms that they're listening as well.
Nice. I like that.
So, yeah, podcast called Sales Tales. You can find it on any, podcast outlet, wherever you found this podcast on. Don't stop listening to this podcast. I want you to keep listening to this podcast. But you're probably a qualified listener for my show as well. Sales Tales is really we bring a guest on sometimes, and if you want to hear the best salespeople in the world talk about the time they ate it
Mm.
and
Mhm.
did a terrible job selling, it's full of stories about how a sale didn't quite go their way. So it's more of a sales fail. But then we talk about, okay, well, what have you have done differently and try and unpack the lesson from there. So
Fun.
I think AEs, BDRs, sales leaders, managers, all the way down will find some solace in listening to a story about, okay, other people do that too. And then some takeaways that you can totally steal, rewrite as your own, and tell your team about.
Nice. I like that a lot. I love just being able to like commiserate in, what happens when you make a mistake during the sales process because we're all making them and it doesn't feel great. But to be able to then recognize that, hey, even this world-class salesperson made the same mistake that I did. Dang, all right. I feel good. Like I get together with my founder once a day and we laugh about the mistakes that we make because we're going to expect to make them more, even though we're reducing them. It's like we're never going to be perfect.
Yeah, man. I once had a guy fake his own death just so he didn't have to talk to me on the phone. I was making cold calls when I got into this business, like really
Yeah.
early on. Now, I should have caught it
Mhm.
because the receptionist is one of the few times I ever called, got a receptionist and had to do a gatehouse get around a little bit. And, I don't lie, but I play it cool.
Yeah.
Just, okay, I don't suppose Zach Pike's floating around the office today, is he? Can I ask who's calling? Like she asked me who I was first.
Yeah.
And that's when I should have known that this was all just a bunch of crap, right? So I call, she answers, don't suppose Zach's floating around the office today. Who can I say is calling? I said, tell him Josh Shirley's holding. And she says, okay. And I got to tell you, Austin, like 99 times out of 100, when I get to that moment, they come back and go, and they either give me the voicemail or they send me through to the person. I was ready to go. I thought I had
Yeah.
it nailed. And she comes back and tells me that he died in a boat explosion. And
Yeah.
I believed it. And if that was just a cold call, that'd be the end of the story. But it was not. It was a referral. So I had to call the first guy back
I love
and tell
that.
him what happened because I didn't, I didn't, I guess he
How would you
couldn't
know?
have known that the guy was dead. I had to tell
Yeah.
him, A, I didn't want him to send him out and introduce him to anybody else. And then B, I mean, it's terribly tragic. And I wanted to make sure that he knew. So I call him and, he answers the phone. I'm like, hey, Mark, I called Zach Pike. And he goes, oh, yeah? How's that son of a bitch? And
Yeah.
I said, not good. He's dead. And, two text messages later, that guy thinks I'm a complete jackass. Never sent me another referral. It was pretty bad. So I've
Yeah.
messed up. I've made all the mistakes, man.
I mean, I doesn't feel like that much of a mistake. I feel like, how are you supposed to know that was supposed to be a joke? I bet that guy says that to every time he doesn't know the
Well,
name. He's like, I
here's the
died in this
thing.
thing.
It wasn't the guy. It was the receptionist. She apparently made it up
Oh, really?
because when he called him back, he's like, "No, I just told her to like get rid of him," and she like goes, "Oh yeah, crack crack," and like I'm gonna get this guy. Like just nailed me, man. So kudos to her. Good job, Beatrice.
You gotta have some fun every once in a while, right? Like,
Yeah,
job can't always be serious. So was that
yeah.
the start of your stand-up career right there? You're like, oh, I got my
Gotta do.
opening joke ready to go.
No, I have a background in. I spent several years in New York City as an actor. I did plays. I did commercials. Had a commercial agent there. And was on some commercials, and that was an exciting time before I had a mortgage and all of that. And during that time, I was able to weave in a corporate life, right? So I had a sales training career where I worked in a marketing team, kind of enabling the sales team with different tools, and so. I had a sales career prior to that, and then after that as well. I built a software company up, a software sales team up.
Mhm.
I live in Kansas City now, and from 2013 to 2020, I suppose I was worked my way up to being the basically the chief revenue officer of that company. We called it something else, but so everybody understands the responsibility. It was basically doing that, got us from a team of 11 to a team of 60, and we
Nice.
were no, it was all bootstrap stuff, no big infusion of cash. And we did it all with Sandler, all with selling, and it was all very organic. So I leverage a lot of that experience when I go in and talk to leaders. If I haven't done that before, they can see it.
Yeah. So when you're building that team, now that's a big from 11 to 60, this is really a lot of explosive growth. Like, what are some of the big takeaways that you think some people miss on when they're trying to put together a highly effective team, that you'd recommend? Hey, these are things to watch out for. Here's some things that you should be doing in order to have success while, have achieving that growth.
Good question. At some point, when you start reaching scale, you start to realize that there needs to be a division of labor here.
Mhm.
Like I have some people who like hunting and going out and finding the next thing, and I have some people who like to roost and work with accounts a little bit more closely. And so what typically develops out of that is an acquisition team that goes directly after people to as if we're tip of the spear to expose our product service to people like we don't know, right? So that's a SDR, BDR type role
Mhm.
in today's landscape. And then I've got kind of a closing team. I would call like a group of account executives who wait for that to happen and then they get a lead or they field inbound leads. And my more experienced sales team kind of sits towards the back end of that pipeline and gets things across the finish line. And then there's typically a third diversification where I've got an implementation slash client success team as well. I've worked on all three components of that. And your question was, where do people go wrong sometimes, or what's a misstep? And one thing I would say I see a lot is this sense. that my tip of spear BDR SDR group is junior varsity,
Hmm.
like for the rest of the company.
Right.
I think that's a culture miss, and I think a lot of people make that error.
Yeah. What are the reasons that you think people assign it as the JV team? And then what do you think are the unintended consequences of treating it as a JV team?
Well, I think it's work nobody wants to do,
Yeah.
right? So I don't care who you are. No one likes cold calling, cold outreach. No one really likes doing it. But whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, there's a lot of people who are really good at it.
Hmm.
And so I think it's natural to say, okay, you got to earn your stripes. I don't know how you're going to work out here. I'm going to give you this job. But an unintended consequence is, well, that's actually the hardest job in sales. Now, it might take more nuance, more business acumen, and more familiarity with my product to, show a demo, show a product, and naturally weave the customer conversation back and forth across features and benefits toward need, right? Like, I think that's nuanced. And I'm not stepping on that by any means when I say that we often overlook an even harder responsibility, which is to meet Austin for the first time.
Hmm.
No prior knowledge at all, and go from completely unaware to some form of interest.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of rejection. The best sales business development reps out there will book 2 or 3 meetings and making 100 calls. And, you've got to be okay with yourself. You have to do work on yourself in order to throw yourself at that all the time. And so, unfortunately, we don't put the care and attention into that as much, and a lot of people kind of wash out. So, one unintended consequence is we don't tend to keep the best people on the team
Hmm.
because we're constantly looking at that team and going, well, we need another one. Somebody left or washed out, they didn't make it,
Yeah.
and it's because we have a culture at our made up company that we're talking about right now. I see this a lot. Like the culture is closing, the culture is results, the culture is not behavior and hunting, right? If we have a hunting culture, then I'm totally okay with a great BDR who goes out and can make $250,000 a year. And what I mean by JV is there's no path to that at most places
Yeah.
because we consider this job to be up to a certain experience level or threshold, and so we put a ceiling on it. And what happens is you have an awesome BDR, and his or her only means to achieve the income and personal goals that they have for themselves is to
Right.
not be on the team anymore. And so unintentionally, I create bad situations. And one of those is I take my best person and I promote them to a manager,
Hmm.
right? So that managers, just like any other position, they need training to be managers. They need training to be leaders. Just because I'm awesome at something does not give me the right to teach, train, coach,
Yeah.
mentor, supervise others. That's an entirely different set of skills. Most companies have absolutely no plan for how I can develop that person. So simultaneously, I've taken away my best person off the floor in selling and acquiring these
Mhm.
meetings, acquiring the
Yeah.
filling the funnel, and added a terrible leader. And so that's one disservice that gets done unintentionally. I don't think people are intentionally doing this. And second, it if our culture is closing, then you like and that same BDR wants to make more money, wants to advance in the company. Then the second route they take is to become an AE.
Mhm.
That's the most common one, right? So different role in the company. So now I'm on the closing team. I'm an account executive. And I might not transition well to that. I
Hmm.
think that's a different set of skills. I think people who are really, really good AEs aren't necessarily the best business developers. And so you can simultaneously remove your best SDR and give yourself a bad AE in exchange. That's just not a good exchange.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's so funny to to think about it from that perspective. I actually have noticed in my own career, sometimes the people who are the worst operators are the best managers. Sometimes
Yeah.
the people who are the best operators are the worst managers. I mean, that's not to say that that is always how the story goes, but there is just this established like culture or like a perception for some reason in the business community that, well, if you're good at doing this, the next step up is to be a leader, the next step up is to do this. And it doesn't take into consideration the differences between those two, three, four, five different things that are going into the different roles. Um, and like knowing that and experiencing that myself, it never occurred to me that people treat, SDRs, BDRs as a JV team. But then you say that, and I'm like, they do. They always do that. And it seems so kind
Yeah.
of backwards. So when you get caught in that trap, or maybe not the trap, but maybe you find yourself in the situation where your team has, like, do you have like specific prescriptive ideas on how people can start breaking themselves out of it? Or is this a one-to-one? Like, how do you start navigating that as a sales leader who's seeing that situation?
Well, I think there's two obstacles, technical and conceptual.
Mhm.
Technically, I think we can learn to involve those people in, a program within the SDR team or within the business development team to be able to achieve their goals without having to leave the team.
Mhm.
And but I think the reason that doesn't happen as often as we'd like is my own perception of that. It's never, people don't typically think of it that way. And I think what people typically believe is that that's a lower level job, and therefore the
Right.
pay and benefits of that are lower level. So I think to answer your question, you have to overcome that. I think you have to start thinking about your culture. Well, if my culture is a closing culture and we're not closing right now, everybody's miserable.
Yeah.
So there's you can choose a culture. You can choose a closing culture. You can choose a hunting culture when it comes to your client-facing sales team. A close is not under my control, and so I can't get you to do anything, right? And if we got quiet on the show right now and you said, Josh, go close a deal, I'd be a little scared, right? Like I can't make that happen. But if you said, okay, Josh will give you 2 minutes, go ask for a referral. Oh, yeah, I could do that in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So a hunting culture is active. It's something that people can actually go do. So eventually the well's going to run dry. It's going to be slow or that time of year, or we didn't go to the right trade show, or the competitor entered the market. Something's going to happen that is going to require me to go to my AEs and say, you guys need to get on the phone and start prospecting. And I think the danger of not thinking it through could leave you with a bunch of people who say, well, I graduated from that.
Yeah. Right.
That's not me. Those other people do that. And now you
Mhm.
got AEs who are trying to look busy because they are the closers, right? But if I flip that around and go, our best paid people, not our only best paid people, but like we got some really good people here and they go hunting. They go out and find new business for me to close. How do I get everybody behaving like them? And if you make that the standard,
Mhm.
I think you have some AEs who are really excited to go out and to flex that muscle again when the company needs them to.
Yeah.
And I work with a company who's had to go through this kind of a transition, and they've really taken that to heart and began to focus on, well, this is a hunting company. And before you join us, I want you to know that like we go out and we hunt. we're not jerks. We're not overly aggressive. We don't hard sell. We're listeners. We want to find the right people. We meet with people when the timing is right. And if we call enough of them and have enough conversations, we're going to find our next client, right? If I have that kind of a mentality, I think that's the conceptual barrier that we can break through is to choose another goal for my culture. And then I think you can find that things start to align there and those technical barriers
Hmm.
start to open up. And it's not so weird now for me to pay a BDR who makes cold calls and can make 40 calls and book 2 meetings,
Hmm.
pay that guy well,
Yeah.
that gal well.
Hmm. I mean, you can't close if you don't have any opportunities created. And if you have
Right.
somebody who's creating all these wonderful opportunities or even higher value opportunities, right? That how does that devalue their role just because they're the spear, the tip of the spear? So, so it seems like what you're saying is, you know, culturally you're bringing up to the same standard, even within like the pay structure, you're starting to bring them up to the same standard, but you can't just bump the pay and then hope the culture follows. It's a you have to focus on the culture and then you can restructure underneath. Or does it matter? I mean, is there a certain formula with this one?
Well, I think if you structure your compensation plan correctly and you don't put limits on it,
Yeah.
and it makes financial sense, then money is essentially under the control of the BDR.
Hmm.
You want to work 80 hours a week, and instead of booking 2 or 3 meetings a week, you book 9. And those 9 meetings are of value.
Yeah.
They're sales accepted,
Yeah.
right? Like if I'm contributing more, I should be paid more. And I think that takes care of itself.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. All right. I mean, this was a great topic to think about, and especially like, as a somebody who's a founder who is, both BDR, AE, AM, customer service, just everything in one. And, seeing the future where, hoping to be more than, or not everything in one, but, a piece of it. I love having this idea of keeping in mind that traditional structures should be questioned on how do I have my sales team operating and looking at and saying, how do I keep these BDRs, this tip of my spear, elevated throughout the entire process instead of falling into, what I'm seeing elsewhere and having to digging myself right back out. So that'll be fun to keep track of. We did get to time, so I want to respect your calendar, or sorry, your schedule. Any parting final thoughts to kind of like, drive the whole thing home for those who are listening in during this conversation?
Yeah, the main thing I'd say is prospecting can be its own reward.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels really good when you get a book meeting. It feels really good.
Does.
It
Yeah,
does.
it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
Good behavior should be rewarded. And uh, we have a gong or, a bell we can ring, and I think that's important. But if we can take whatever, the rewards are, and we can scale those down so that people see benefits from doing the behaviors and
Mhm.
trying, right? If we consider a meeting to be a result, but the attempt to get the meeting, the behavior, I think rewarding those behaviors is a big lesson learned for me.
Nice. Josh, I really appreciate you. That was super eye-opening for me. Everyone should go listen to Tail Sales. Or wait, Sales Tales.
Sales tales, yeah.
I'm sorry. I think I was thinking of DuckTales and I didn't want to mess that up. And so
Oh,
I went the opposite
what a
direction.
great theme song DuckTales had, though. I know
Yeah,
what you're talking about.
you guys
Yes.
might have to redo your opening theme song and make it kind
To
of a knockoff
DuckTales.
of it.
Yeah. Won't get in any trouble for that
Yeah,
at
definitely
all.
not. All right, Josh, appreciate you, man.
Austin, good times.